Okay, how to make a window. Now, I've got clay tools, but to be honest with you, before I ever owned clay tools years ago, I just used to use stuff out the kitchen drawer actually, like sharp knives, and Mark won't be too pleased when he sees that I've got his vegetable knife here, but hey ho. Right, so I've just marked it out, and if you make a mistake and you think, oh, I don't like that window there, just look, you can smooth it over. I was going to make a really big window there, and then I realised I wouldn't have room for the shutters, so you can sort of just clear it over. So I've drawn out the window using a pointy tool, and then I'm just going to, I always dip my tools in a little bit of water and it just makes them a little bit less sticky. So push it in. So basically my windows are going to be the same size as the width of my tool. That's handy. So if there's any marks on your clay, on the walls and that, doesn't matter, because you can cover that all over. You can actually make it look part of the wall. You can add to it, because you can work on the clay even when it's started to dry. So that's that. Just finding another tool, keep putting things down, and if I right, it's this one I want. So a little hooky thing. So I'm just gonna, there you go, pull out my window, add that to my spare clay. There you go. There we go. And then I'll add that to my spare clay. That will become shutters. So just tidy it up. Flatten it out. Give you so. Don't forget it's a fairy house, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, because these houses are built in the woods. What you could do as well, when you've made your little fairy house, is you could go and find some bark off tree stumps and that in your garden or whatever, and you can actually stick bark around the edges, or you can embellish it in lots and lots of different ways. I like to pick some ivy, because even when the ivy is dry, if you stick it up the side of the house, it really does look effective. If you've seen my fairy house made from cardboard, so straighten that. Right, to make the bits of the window look like wood, I've got one of these metal tools, but you could use a toothbrush, or you could use a cocktail stick. Use anything really, just to get the effect you want. So I just, because these bits here are the cross bit, yeah, and then when it's almost dry, all these little bits of clay, like little knobbly bits and that, I might leave them on there, I might tidy them up. I actually think it looks nice when it's a bit rough looking on the edges, because fairies have built it. Okay. So the next bit is I'm going to make the shutters, and all I do is I roll out some clay, which I'm keeping that, by the way, on a damp cloth so that it doesn't start to dry out, because obviously it's air drying clay, so it will dry out. So I don't measure anything, I'm afraid. I'm a bit of a guesstimate person. If you know me, you know that I'm always it's an ish. An ish. So, I think that's good enough. So then I'll get my nice straight bit at the top of the shutter. Now this is as technical as it gets with me. I'm going to measure how big my window is, like that, and then like that. So oh, this is so nice to work with, clay. It really is. You can use the flat side. Right, so I want my shutter to be half that window, and then half that. So that's an ish. An ish, 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 ish. Like that. Like that. So they will eventually go on like that. Mustn't forget my little windowsill. So there's my, no, that's not thick enough. See, you can just make it up as you go along. So I'm just going to squidge it so it's a little bit thicker. Score it. These help. It's a deer. So clay to clay. A little bit of slip. So clay, clay. Like so. And then sticking it on. Sort of seal those edges. That works for me. That windowsill is a little bit too big. Let's take a bit of it off. There you go. Make it look a little bit like wood. Right, so for the little bits of wood that are going across the shutter, all I have done is some of the little offcuts I've cut in half, stretched out a little bit. So if I put them together, then I get the bits of wood accurate. So just got to create my wood effect shutters. Now normally I've got a little bit of an old piece of sponge, some water, because that's quite good for smoothing out clay. But I'm really not too worried about getting it perfect. So a little bit of slip across there. So attach my little bits of wood. Imagine little fairies making this. I'm sure they would be a lot neater than me. Right, so we just want to neaten that off. And then cut that. There's my shutters. So just need to score. I mustn't forget either to do my little brick bit, but you do your brick bit the same as you do your windowsill. Bit of glue or slip. On the back of your just sort of seal it in round there, just gently. Like that. Quite a lot of slip there, but again, doesn't matter. Push it down. I don't know about you, but I could sit and play like this all day, and I probably will. Right, just neaten it off. Just titivate. Like I say, once it's dry and you've painted it, all these little sort of bits that aren't perfect actually make it look more authentic, give it more texture. There to do my little bricks across the top. That's a bit thin, that one. There you go. If I was a real anorak, I'd be making these little bricks individually. It has been known. I'm not really a very patient person. I like to sort of work quite quickly because I'm always eager to see the finished product. So I'm not very good at taking my time, I'm afraid. There you go. Wetting my little tool. Again, you could use anything for this. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Make that a little bit wider. Okay. It's not even, but hey ho, that's life in fairy world. There we are. And there we have the window. So just a bit of water on your clay, just to smooth it off. If you wanted to, you could make your clay house look like wood. So what you would do is you could just sort of do that. I haven't made up my mind yet what texture I'm going to make the walls yet. I might just leave them. Oh, that's quite nice actually. But I can decide that when I actually put the house together. because obviously whilst I'm fixing the sides with the front and back, any sort of mark making I'm going to do on the clay is going to disappear when I'm handling it. So there you have it, the two side panels, and then they'll actually be attached to the front. Okay.